Aaron calls us up. He's like, hey guys, if you're heading through South Dakota, you gotta stop by my mom's restaurant. It's up in Wisconsin. So we made this pit stop at the Serving Spoon. We're like, hey, let her know we'll be there in a few hours. And he's like, okay, I'll let her know what you guys look like.
He says, James is a little skinny white guy with challenged facial hair. And Tas is brown. He says, that's the best I can do for your mom.
Wags has made this spectacular recommendation.
We sat down and we had some of the best food of the trip.
That burger was much welcome.
Once we got into the grasslands and everything just kind of opened up, man, I was just like, whew.
It's really quite peaceful when you get out of the rush of everyday life.
That's when the road trip really sort of turned into a road trip.
Old railways and bridges. And
when I was a kid, we used to do a lot of moving around. I think it was one of my favorite places to go. So I'm like, oh, we're doing this big road trip. We got to go back through the Badlands. Turn off the main road onto this dirt road and it takes us all the way up to this perfect little lookout.
Absolutely gorgeous. Like, wow. All of a sudden we're in the Badlands where there's just not a soul in sight, and the sunset was going down, and we just sat on the car, just on the hood of the Jeep, and we just cracked a brew and we just enjoyed the moment, because that's what it was. It was our moment.
And then we made our way on over to South Dakota in the morning. You know you're getting close to South Dakota because your dandelions are going to start getting about this big.
Well, hello there, world. We're about to go down into the S&G cave, short for Shits and Giggles. It's a nice one-way cave, not too many shafts going outside of it, so we shouldn't get lost in here. However, if we do, feel free to sell our belongings and make do with what we have. Good day.
So
Could be down there where Tas is going.
we're pretty sure the rest of the cave goes down this way.
Oh, this is where the knee pads and elbow pads would be nice. Ooh, that rock is cold on my belly. This is what it's about, though. Crawling through the hole looking like you're being born through the earth.
This is the last big open space before we get into some of the tighter stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and leave the big camera here, and we're just gonna go in with the GoPro. Taking my headlamp, taking my flashlight. You guys don't need it.
We were supposed to make a loop and turn around, but we couldn't find a turnaround point. We weren't lost, but we were lost. And I mean, I hadn't been in that cave for probably like 6 or 7 years, you know? It's like get lost now inside this cave. You don't see anything now. Come over this rock though, and that is the way out right through there. You see this rib goes right down the middle. That's why they call it the sternum buster. Keep your head turned one way. Look at that. That's way down right there. Oh, hey, dude. You can see your camera down there. You can see it's pointing in a completely opposite direction. Hope the monsters don't get you.
I got some holes in my shirt, and I got some cuts on my arms.
The caves, they're great. I love them. They're nice and cool. We got out of it alive. I'm ready to go get a milkshake or something. So let's do that.
So we rolled up to Silver City, South Dakota. I think one of the first things we did there was pull all the guns out.
We're gonna go shoot some shit. We got about 800 rounds of shotgun ammo alone between the three of us.
400 rounds of Mosin,
Just 400 rounds for this puppy alone.
and about 300 rounds of 223.
You? Chris pulled out some of his old Russian rifles and his shotguns, and it was so much fun.
A lot of them. How many he caught?
here up at Medicine Mountain Scout Ranch. This is where I spent my last summers before the Marine Corps, teaching rock climbing and high adventure. Behind me we got a lot of the scenery of what these hills are made out of. You got Ponderosa pines, you got the rocks, the kind of grassy plains with lots of birds up here, owls, raptors, birds of prey, you know, hawks. You got ospreys, they'll swoop up out of the lakes and get the fish from there. Little fruits and stuff. You actually got a wild raspberry up here. This is, you find these throughout all the hills. And the beauty about it is you're away from civilization, you're out of cell phone reception, and it's just you and nature.
Every time I see South Dakota, it's just passing through. So it was really nice that Vinny, you know, had just an old friend there.
We've driven across the hills. I've shown you as much of the hills as I can in 2 days. My car officially smells like shotgun shells now.
We had an awesome time with my buddy Chris, old climbing friend of mine. That was my first time seeing him since before the Marine Corps.
But goodbyes are like finite, and it's like, so long, thanks for all the fish.
We're leaving South Dakota, we're just gonna keep driving. I don't know where we are, so Vinny's just gonna navigate for us, and he has some stuff planned out, some places he likes to go to. So anyways, we're heading out. We're going west.
We actually left around sunset in Salt Lake City. We drove all night to get here. Took us about 5 hours, and once we got here, we just started an awesome fire, and it's just like being in the cowboy scene all over again. Yeah, we set up the hammocks, tried to sleep as long as we could before it started getting too hot outside. But you know, in the middle of the desert, it can warm up pretty quick once that sun starts hitting you. So here we got some quality American propane. Danger, extremely flammable. Fire, explosion hazard. Contents under pressure. Sounds to me like a good time. We have us here, a T-Rex chaser. Let's go set this up. Looked like it was high. Woo-hoo-hoo! Hit right in front of it again. Yeah!
So what we didn't know is that if you take a flare and you put it right next to the canister will actually extinguish the flare. And that was a little bit of a letdown, but after that it was just fireball.
Took my dad's old deer hunting rifle out there and just sniped this one propane tank, and it just vaporized. We couldn't find any of the bottle anywhere. We had this one propane tank that we shot, and it was just like we just went all launching at us, and we're like, "Whoa!" And Taz started standing up and shooting at it, and we're all shooting at it. It was glorious. And you know, we took the shotguns, finished them off. So after we were done shooting, we jumped into the Jeep and we decided to take the cross-country trail through the desert instead of hooking back onto the main road. So that was a little bit of fun, going off-roading with the Jeep, going through the desert. Once we finally got to Zion's National Park, we actually had to park outside and take a shuttle in through the park. The first trail that we decided to go to, which were the Emerald Pools.
I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's this thing of water and it's like green and shit. And I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, so the trail goes through the center of this valley and we end up right against the canyon wall. And we're like, bro, like, how did we get here, man? So we're right here at the base of this cliff. That's the cliff. So if you see those wee little specks of people all the way down there, that's the trail we're supposed to be on. And if you see that run right there, that's the way we came up. But anyways, we turned around and we just had like this great view of the whole canyon. It worked out too because we did like half the trail and we got like an awesome view out of it.
Yeah, granted, we were bushwhacking it through sagebrush and cactuses and almost dying from boulders falling on each other. But in the long run, I mean, it was a beautiful view. You know, I think that's a plus. we saw this deer, and all these tourists are taking pictures of the deer. And me and Vincent are like, man, we can take better pictures than that. So I'm like, yeah, dude, I got this. Vincent's like, hey man, don't you want to use the GoPro? And I'm like, no, I don't want to use the GoPro. I want to use the telephoto lens, dude. So I start setting up my lens, and Vincent starts setting up his GoPro, and I'm like, dude, don't even bother, man. Mine's gonna come out so much better. He's like, nah, dude, mine's gonna come out so much better. Lowered the camera down over the bridge. The perfect shot of the deer. Got right up in its face. Nice centered picture. It was brilliant. I think I won. We'll see what Vincent has. It'll be in the final cut, so you guys will be able to make the decision. Can't wait to see how well that shot came out, because it is going to look good. Shortly after that, we jumped back on the shuttle, and we went up to the Canyon River walk, which was a lot of fun. The canyon walls, they narrow down on this river, and so it's like basically in order to keep hiking along the canyon, you have to hike through the river. So when Vincent was telling me about this, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, we have to go down there and take a look. And that was just perfect, because after all day, you know, it was a typical desert day in the August, summer, really hot. We got to this little bend in the river where the water got deeper, and it had a little cliff next to it that we decided to climb up and jump into. Ended up going upstream a little bit, and we could just kind of slide down the river. Came out of the river, went back into the desert, dried out really quick, ended up at some restaurant that someone recommended. So we're at the end of the road now. We started off in Florida. Drove up the interstate, went out to Asheville, North Carolina, Candler, North Carolina. And then we went to South Dakota, passed through the Badlands, saw some caves. Utah's like the last bit. After this, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to Hawaii. We didn't stay in a single hotel room the entire time. It's rare that you can cross a country like the United States and you're just running into people you know, catching up with people you haven't seen in forever. Especially for us, you know, just being out of the Marine Corps, just getting back to America, getting ready to leave America again, seeing places we've never been before, but it's also about going back to places that we like, seeing people we haven't seen in a while, seeing people we don't get to see too often. It's nice to move on, but at the same time, God, I wish it wouldn't end. This is it. This is James checking out. Till next time.